What started as a desperate phone call from my 73-year-old aunt about sending $30,000 to save her grandson turned into the most elaborate scammer hunt I've ever conducted. By the time I was done with this guy, he was begging me for mercy. And wait until you hear what country this operation was really running from. But first, if you enjoy stories about justice being served and scammers getting what they deserve, smash that subscribe button because this channel is all about exposing these criminals. Let me set the scene. My name is Marcus, and I'm a forensic accountant, which basically means I follow money trails for a living. I spend my days tracking down financial fraud for insurance companies and law firms. It's not the most exciting job in the world, but it pays well, and I'm really good at it. Last Tuesday, I'm reviewing some case files when my phone rings. It's my Aunt Helen, my dad's sister, who raised me after my parents died in a car accident when I was 12. She's basically like a second mother to me. Marcus, oh, thank God you answered. Something terrible has happened to David. David is my cousin, her grandson, who's currently studying abroad in China for his master's degree in international business. Aunt Helen, slow down. What's wrong? What happened to David? He's been arrested. He's in jail in Beijing and needs $30,000 for bail money, or they're going to keep him locked up for months. The lawyer says if we don't wire the money by tomorrow, David could be charged with something much worse. Now here's the thing. I talk to David pretty regularly, and just 3 days ago, he sent me photos of him at the Great Wall looking perfectly fine. But my aunt is 73, lives alone, and honestly isn't the most tech-savvy person in the world. Aunt Helen, did you actually speak to David directly? No, but his lawyer called me. He had a Chinese accent and everything. He knew David's full name, his school, even that he has that scar on his chin from when he fell off his bike as a kid. That's when my forensic accountant brain kicked in. This sounded exactly like the grandparent scams I'd read about, but the level of detail they had was concerning. Aunt Helen, I need you to promise me you won't send any money until I figure out what's going on, okay? Give me the lawyer's phone number. She gives me this number with a +86 country code, which is indeed China. But here's where my professional training comes in handy. The first thing I always do with suspicious phone numbers is run them through reverse lookup databases. The number comes back to a VoIP service, basically a fake phone number that can be routed through any country in the world. Red flag number 1. So I decide to call this lawyer myself. Hello, this is Attorney Chen Wei from Beijing International Legal Services. Hi, I'm calling about my nephew David Thompson. My aunt received a call about bail money. Ah yes, very serious situation. Your nephew in big trouble. Need money very soon or situation become much worse. Now I'm testing him. David's last name isn't Thompson, it's Morrison. This guy just agreed with whatever I said. Right, and just to confirm, David is about 5 feet 2 inches, blonde hair, blue eyes. Yes, exact description. Very urgent situation. With dark brown hair and brown eyes. This guy is clearly just agreeing with everything. But here's where it gets interesting. While I'm talking to him, I'm also running a trace on the call. The number might show China, but the actual routing is showing something completely different. The call is being routed through 3 different countries, but the originating server? Moscow, Russia. Now I'm intrigued. This isn't just some small-time scammer. This is a sophisticated operation. So I decide to play along and see how deep this rabbit hole goes. Okay, I want to help David. How exactly do I send the money? Very good. You send via Western Union to our legal associate in Shanghai. I give you name and address. He gives me this elaborate story about how Chinese legal system works, how foreigners need special representation, the whole 9 yards. I'm taking notes on everything. But here's what he doesn't know. I'm recording this entire conversation, and while he's talking, I'm tracing every detail he gives me. The name he gives me for the money pickup? Liu Wei Chen. I run that through my databases and find 17 different scam reports across 5 countries using that exact same name. This guy has been busy. Fast-paced investigative montage music. But I want to see how organized this operation really is. So I tell him I need time to get the money together, and he gives me a grace period of 48 hours. Over the next day, I do what I do best. I follow the money trail. I start tracking down other victims of this same scam. I find police reports from California, Texas, Florida, even two from Canada. Always the same story. Grandparent receives call about grandchild arrested abroad, needs immediate bail money. But here's the crazy part. When I start adding up all the reported losses, we're talking about over $400,000 in just the past 6 months. This isn't some guy working alone in his basement. This is a criminal enterprise. So I decide to dig deeper. I create a fake email address and start responding to some Craigslist ads for work-from-home opportunities that match the MO of these scammers. Within 24 hours, I get a response. Congratulations, you have been selected for customer service representative position. Work from home, flexible hours, $25 per hour. Please provide phone number for training call. I give them a burner phone number I set up specifically for this investigation. 2 hours later, they call. But this time, it's not the same guy. This is a woman with an American accent. Clearly someone recruited from the US to be the front face of the operation. Hi, this is Sarah from Global Customer Solutions. Ready to start your new career? During this training call, she basically explains how the scam works. They give her scripts to read, target lists of elderly people, and she gets paid $100 for every successful customer interaction. Their euphemism for successful scam. She has no idea she's actually part of an international criminal organization. She thinks she's working customer service for a legitimate debt collection company. But here's where it gets really interesting. She mentions that her supervisor is someone named Victor, and that all the company training materials come from their headquarters in Shanghai. Shanghai, the same city where my aunt was supposed to wire the money. I convince Sarah to send me the training materials, telling her I want to study up before my first day. What she sends me is a gold mine. The training materials are in a mix of English, Russian, and Chinese. But when I run the metadata on the documents, they're all created on computers registered in Moscow with Cyrillic keyboard inputs. This entire operation is being run out of Russia, using American recruits to make the calls, Chinese money mules to collect the cash, and they're targeting victims across North America. But wait, it gets even better. In one of the training documents, there's an organizational chart that got left in by mistake. At the top, someone called the director. Below him are 3 regional managers, one for North America, one for Europe, and one for Asia Pacific. And below them, dozens of customer service representatives, like Sarah, and money management specialists, which are clearly the people who collect and launder the stolen money. I'm looking at the structure of an international criminal syndicate that's stolen millions of dollars from elderly people across multiple countries. That's when I decided this guy wasn't just going to steal from my aunt. He was going to become my full-time project. Now, I should mention, what I'm about to tell you is everything I did within legal boundaries. I'm not a hacker, and I didn't break any laws. But I am very, very good at my job. First, I needed to map out their entire operation. Using the information from Sarah's training materials, I started identifying other employees. I created multiple fake identities and started applying to their job postings. Within a week, I had infiltrated their recruitment process with 5 different personas. Jennifer from Ohio, single mom looking for work-from-home opportunities. Mike from Texas, retired veteran needing extra income. Ashley from California, college student needing flexible work. Robert from Florida, unemployed accountant, this one was almost too real. And Patricia from Canada, elderly woman who actually wanted to flip the script and scam the scammers. Each persona got accepted into their training program, and each one gave me a deeper look into how this operation worked. But the beautiful part? They were so focused on recruiting Americans to make their scam calls sound legitimate, they never bothered to verify anything about their employees. Through my 5 fake identities, I now had access to their complete target database, over 10,000 elderly people across North America, their daily operational schedules, their money collection routes, and most importantly, the real identities of the people running this thing. Remember Victor that Sarah mentioned? His real name is Viktor Petrov, and he's a 34-year-old former Moscow police officer who got fired for corruption 3 years ago. He's been running online scams ever since. The director, at the top? Alexei Volkov, 42, who apparently runs this operation out of a legitimate-looking business center in downtown Moscow. But here's where my forensic accounting background really came in handy. While I was playing along with their training program, I was also tracking their money flows. Every time one of their American recruits successfully scammed someone, the money would get wired to Shanghai. But it wasn't staying there. The Chinese money mules were immediately transferring it to cryptocurrency exchanges, converting it to Bitcoin, and then sending it to wallets registered in Russia. I was watching them launder money in real time. Now comes the fun part. I decided to become their best employee. Using my Patricia persona, the elderly Canadian woman, I started making calls to their target list. But instead of scamming people, I was warning them. Hello, Mrs. Johnson? This is Patricia calling from... Well, I'm actually calling to warn you about a scam that's about to target you. I warned over 200 people in 2 weeks. Every single person on their target list that I could reach got a call from Patricia explaining exactly how the scam worked and what to watch out for. But the beautiful part was, their system showed that Patricia was making all her required calls and following up on leads. Victor thought Patricia was their star employee. Meanwhile, as Mike from Texas, I was doing something even more devious. Every time they gave me a script to scam someone's grandparent, I would call the number but then tell the target, "Ma'am, I'm actually calling to let you know that scammers might be calling you soon pretending to be your grandson in trouble abroad. Here's how to protect yourself." I was using their own system to warn their intended victims, but that was just the warm-up. Through Jennifer from Ohio, I learned that they were planning something big. A coordinated campaign targeting over 500 elderly people across the US and Canada in a single weekend. They called it Operation Golden Week. The plan was to make all the calls on Friday, create panic over the weekend when banks are closed, and collect all the money on Monday before anyone had time to verify the stories. If successful, they estimated they could steal over $2 million in a single weekend. That's when I decided it was time to end this. I had 2 days before Operation Golden Week. So I did what any reasonable forensic accountant would do. I contacted every relevant authority I could find. But here's the problem with international crime. Jurisdiction is a nightmare. The Russian authorities weren't interested in helping with an investigation into Russian citizens scamming Americans. The Chinese authorities said they needed more evidence. And the American authorities said they could only investigate crimes committed on American soil. So I realized I was going to have to handle this myself. First, I contacted a journalist friend of mine who works for a major news network. I gave her everything: the organizational charts, the recorded calls, the money trail, the identities of the ringleaders, everything. But that wasn't enough. I wanted Victor and Alexei to know that someone was coming for them personally. Using all 5 of my fake personas, I started feeding false information back up their chain of command. Jennifer reported that FBI agents had been asking questions in her neighborhood. Mike said his bank had flagged suspicious activity. Ashley claimed her college roommate's dad was a cop who was asking about her new job. Within 24 hours, Victor was panicking. He started making calls to all his employees, asking if anyone had noticed anything suspicious. That's when Patricia delivered the killing blow. I had Patricia request a direct call with Victor, claiming she had important security information about potential law enforcement activity. "Patricia, what is this about? You are making me very worried." "Oh, Victor, I think we need to talk. You see, I'm not actually Patricia from Canada." What do you mean?" "My name is Marcus Morrison. I'm a forensic accountant from Dallas, Texas, and you tried to scam my 73-year-old aunt out of $30,000. The silence on that call was beautiful. I could practically hear him sweating. Here's what's going to happen. Viktor Petrov of Moscow, Russia. In exactly 72 hours, every major news network in America is going to run a story about your little operation. They have your real name, your address, your photo, and recordings of you attempting to defraud elderly Americans." Wait. Who are you?" "I'm someone who's very good at following money trails. And I've followed your money trail all the way back to Alexei Volkov and your little business center in Moscow. I have bank records, cryptocurrency wallet addresses, and evidence of over $400,000 in theft from elderly victims. But here's the really fun part, Victor. Remember Operation Golden Week? Your big weekend heist targeting 500 people? Every single person on that list has already been contacted and warned about your scam. Every single one. This is not possible. Oh, but it gets better. You know your star employees? Jennifer, Mike, Ashley, Robert, and Patricia? All me. For the past 3 weeks, I've been inside your operation, documenting everything, warning your victims, and feeding you false information. The sound he made was somewhere between a whimper and a growl. Now, Victor, you have 2 choices. Choice 1. You can continue running your little scam operation, and in 72 hours, you'll be the most famous scammer in America. Your face will be on every news channel, your operation will be exposed, and I'll make sure every law enforcement agency in the world knows exactly where to find you. What is choice 2? Choice 2. You shut down this entire operation. Today, you refund every penny you've stolen from elderly victims. And yes, I have the complete list and bank records. You fire all your American recruits and tell them the company is closing, and you disappear from the internet forever. You cannot prove anything. You have no authority. Victor, I'm a forensic accountant. Proving things is literally what I do for a living. I have recordings of you admitting to fraud. I have your organizational charts. I have your money trails. I have everything. But you know what I also have? I have contacts at the Moscow Times, Pravda, and RT News. Want to guess what happens to known scammers in Russian prisons, Victor? The silence stretched for almost 30 seconds. What exactly do you want? I want you to call my Aunt Helen and personally apologize for trying to scam her. I want you to shut down this operation permanently, and I want you to remember that if you ever try something like this again, I'll be watching. 3 days later, my aunt received a very strange phone call. Marcus, the oddest thing happened. That Chinese lawyer called me back and apologized. He said there had been a misunderstanding and that David was never actually arrested. He even had a Russian accent this time instead of Chinese. But that wasn't the end of it. Over the next week, I received messages from several elderly people thanking me for warning them about scams. Apparently, word had spread through senior communities about someone calling to warn about the grandson in trouble scam. The news story ran exactly as promised. My journalist friend did an amazing expose on international scammer rings, featuring Victor's operation as a case study. She didn't use any of the illegally obtained information, but she had plenty of material from public records and victim testimonies. Within a month, the entire network had shut down. The fake job postings disappeared. The phone numbers went dead. And Viktor Petrov seems to have vanished from the internet entirely. But the best part? Remember Sarah, the American woman who thought she was working customer service? I made sure she knew exactly what she had been recruited for and connected her with legitimate work opportunities in her area. Last I heard, she got a real customer service job with a local insurance company. Look, I'm not encouraging anyone to take on international criminal organizations. What I did required very specific professional skills and a lot of legal knowledge about what I could and couldn't do. But there are things everyone can do to protect themselves and their loved ones. First, never send money to someone claiming to be in legal trouble abroad without independently verifying their story. Call your family member directly using a number you already have for them. Second, be suspicious of anyone demanding immediate action and threatening consequences if you don't act fast. Legitimate emergencies don't work that way. Third, if something feels wrong, trust your instincts. Scammers rely on creating panic and urgency to short-circuit your logical thinking. And finally, if you or someone you know has been targeted by scammers, report it to authorities even if no money was lost. Every report helps build the case against these criminal organizations. As for Victor and Alexei, well, let's just say that whenever I'm having a bad day at work, I remember the sound Victor made when he realized his entire operation had been infiltrated by one very determined forensic accountant. And my Aunt Helen? She now calls me whenever she gets any suspicious phone calls. Last week, she forwarded me an email about a Nigerian prince who needed help moving money. I think I might have another project. If you enjoyed this story of scammer justice, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Have you or someone you know ever been targeted by scammers? Share your stories in the comments below. And remember, the best defense against scammers is an informed community. Our next video, I'll be telling you about the time I helped expose a fake charity scam that was stealing donations meant for disaster victims. Trust me, you won't want to miss that one. Until then, stay safe out there, and remember, sometimes the best revenge is just being really, really good at your job.